Alright, so I'm finally doing my video on the Volander. This is actually the 3.5 inch, the VX 3.5. There is a VX3 or 3-inch version of this frame. Very, very similar, just slightly shorter arms for the smaller props, for the 3-inch props instead of the 3.5-inch props. So I've had this for a long time and have been unable to make the video for a variety of reasons. I'll talk about some of those shortly. A very interesting story in this one. But very quickly, just some frame specs here in terms of what you can engage. It's very high quality carbon T700. You get 3.5mm thick arms. There's a staggered bottom plate here. So these bottom plates are about 2.5mm thick. So you have one in the front here, and then the top side goes to the back. And you have a 2mm top plate. Got these nice CNC aluminum camera cage here in the front with these silicone mounts. So you can't put the O3 system in here if you want to get nice stabilized and jello-free footage. That's what these silicone mounts are for. It can work on 20mm cameras and 19mm cameras, and they have all those. I think 2 sets of each are included in the package. I went with Walk Snail. This is the nano camera with the V3 VTX. I've had this for a while as well and haven't been able to make this video because I haven't been able to fly this. So they sent me this frame around the same time that everyone else made their videos for this. This was probably like 4 or 5 months ago. And they sent this frame along with their 1804 motors. These are these flash, I forget what kV this is. I think it's like 3500 kV. So this is their recommended setup for flying this on a 4S battery. I think they have a lower kV version of this motor if you want to do 6S on this frame. So I had the motors, had the frame, but Flyfish, they're still kind of a new company. They don't have bind-in flies yet. So I obviously didn't come pre-built, so I had to build the frame and install my own parts. I originally built this with like an all-in-one flight controller board. This is it can take whoop style boards that are rotated 45 degrees, or you can put a 20x20 stack in there. So I went with a whoop style board. Originally it was I think a GetBRC F722 board. I don't think they make it anymore. And I had everything built. I slapped on the preset from Betaflight for the AOS 3.5. That looked pretty good, so I put that in there. And when I went and flew it the first time, it took off, and within, I think, about 10 seconds, it started wobbling. And then, within a couple seconds after that, it did a desync and promptly crashed. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I cleaned it up. It got a little muddy, and then went to try and fly it again, and turned out, I believe it was this motor here, was not spinning. It would arm, but the other motors would arm, but this one would kind of stutter and wouldn't spin. So I was like, oh, great. And I think the all-in-one board died while on its first flight. Not terribly uncommon. I mean, it has happened to me a few times in the past. These days doesn't happen as much. Or actually, that was the last time that's ever happened to me, is where an all-in-one just died, on a flight. So I did some diagnosing, and it turned out it looked like the board was dead, but the motor might have been okay. I wasn't 100% sure about that motor. So I swapped out that board, and all the other motors seemed fine. Swapped out that board for another all-in-one. I forget what brand. I think it was a Hack RC. I put that one in there. And when I armed it the first time, this motor then smoked. I was like, so apparently whatever happened here, either the motor or the original flight controller was a problem, and it caused basically maybe this motor to die, and it looked like it was okay. But anyway, this motor was the second time I built it, this motor was definitely dead, and then it looked like that also fried the second all-in-one board. So yeah, I basically this build is turning into a giant money pit. Yeah, and you know, all-in-one boards are like about $80 nowadays, $100 sometimes. So yeah, it was yeah, it was getting pretty bad. I was basically, this is turning into a cursed build, which is what it was. And so I contacted Flyfish and asked them if they could send me some more motors. So they did. And I swapped out this motor again, and I swapped out the all-in-one board, and I actually put I think this is a beta FPV board in here that's in there now. It's been discontinued, so I'm not going to link that in the video description. But this one worked, and again, I put the AOS 3.5 preset from Betaflight, and it's got the latest Betaflight on here, 4.43, and it flies. So that doesn't fly amazing. Whatever reason, that tune I think is meant for the AOS 3.5. It seems like it's probably, I mean, the tune looks like it is probably meant specifically for that frame. I did try and tweak it a little bit, play with the filters, but there's just a fair amount of wobbling in the flight footage you're going to see. Not 100% sure how I'm going to fix that, or if it can be fixed. Pretty sure there's probably a good tune out there for this frame. If you happen to know of where I can get one for this particular frame and this motor setup, let me know in the comments below, because I would like to try and apply that. There's no preset for this frame yet, and manufacturers will, when they have bind and flies, they'll have like a preset tune for that bind and fly, with a certain motor and ESD combination. But of course, this manufacturer doesn't have anything like that, so they don't have any CLA dumps or any kind of presets for this particular frame. But I'm pretty sure, I know this is a fairly popular micro freestyle frame. A lot of people have gotten that for that reason, and a lot of people have asked me where my review for this has been, because I think I posted this on my Instagram a while back that I was working on this, but because of all the hardware problems I was having, I wasn't able to put that video up until now. And even now, I'm not really that satisfied with the flight footage. This is kind of the thing with builds. Sometimes things can go wrong. Now, this doesn't happen often. Like I've done a lot of builds, but every once in a while you just get kind of cursed, where I think what happened was the original GEP-RC board probably had a flaw in the ESC, and that died, and that probably partially killed that motor, where it was to the point where I was thinking that it was okay, but it actually wasn't. And then the second board I put in there died, probably because this motor was no good and maybe sent too much current back into that all-in-one. So yeah, sometimes these builds can get pretty expensive when parts or the hardware, the electronics aren't really working correctly, and you end up spending a lot of money. So just to think about, for example, if you're trying to build a quad with the parts that you want, and you kind of run into this problem where one thing kills the other and then the other thing kills the other thing, you're soon, you spend an extra, $150 on parts that you didn't think that you had to spend when you did the original build. Anyway, in terms of lightweight flies, I can't really tell you 100% because I don't have a optimal tune for this yet. I may revisit this frame in the future if someone can point me to a tune that will work really well with this. If I do, then I will post that probably over on my second channel, and as sort of a follow-up, because I do like the frame. I have, like, for example, I've been flying the Atlas 4, which I got that frame like 4 months after I got this frame, but I finished that build a lot faster because I swapped over parts from the Chimera 4 build, which I already knew flew well, and so I didn't have to do any tuning, and that tune worked fine on the Atlas 4. But when you're kind of building from scratch, you have to and then you're dealing with these sort of problems, then you got to sort of try and find a tune. But PID tuning can be very time consuming, and so I did spend a fair amount of time trying to sort of fiddle around with filters and different gains, lowering the gains, increasing the gains, but it just wasn't really, the footage actually got worse every time I tweaked away from that AOS 3.5 preset. So there must be something that I am not quite seeing, and something about either this frame or something about tuning for the 1804 motor, for example. Not 100% sure. Again, if you guys happen to know of a good tune, let me know down in the comments below. I'm going to go ahead and leave you with the rest of this, shortened flight footage. Not that impressive in my opinion, but it'll give you a little bit of an idea what you can get from this camera here with the walk-snail system. And again, hopefully I'll revisit this frame in the future. I do know that a lot of people have bought this frame, have been flying it, and are very satisfied with this frame. It's just that they've probably had a lot better luck than I have in their build, whereas I did not have as much luck in the build that I did for this one. Now, I am going to have a build video on the Tony 5 at some point in the future. And yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what other fly fish stuff I'm going to be working on, but that's the next one I'm going to be you're probably going to see on the channel. But again, I'm not 100% sure when that one's going to be coming out either. So far, I haven't any electronics problems. I haven't actually done any build with anything with the build other than built the frame, which I showed in a previous overview video. But I hopefully won't have as bad of a luck with that build compared to this one. Anyway, let me know in the comments below if you had any horror stories like this one with cursed builds in your FPV building career. Let me know down in the comments below if you have anything similar like that. That'll do for this video. I'll talk to you guys in the next one.